Welcome, Sarah. I'm so happy to see you. Welcome to my Fertility Talks.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I'd like to start by giving the audience some context about you. Introduce yourself and tell us a little about your background and what your occupation is.
So my name is Sarah. I am 30 years old. I'm a special ed teacher from Long Island, and I am a mother to my daughter, Violet. And it took us 3.5 years of fertility treatments to get her. And she's the love of my life.
And she is so beautiful, let me say. I'm so happy for you. I'm beyond elated. I want to mention to our audience that we did know each other through your fertility journey. We met at a Yoga for Fertility workshop that you attended. So I am beyond ecstatic to see that your dreams have come true. Tell us about how long you've been married.
So I've been married for 6 years. It'll be 7 this summer. And we have been together since we were 17. So we were definitely ready to become parents.
Yes, and that's amazing. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
It's so wonderful to see the two of you together and just, achieve every milestone together, from growing up and to starting, getting married and building a family. Did you want to start a family right away together, or did you want to wait?
We had planned to wait a little. We got married very young. We were only 23. So, we had our newlywed stage. And then when we turned 25, we said, okay, let's start. So that was in 2017 that we started to try naturally.
And what was going through your mind when you weren't getting pregnant at first?
I think everyone says, oh, talk to your mother, see how their experience was. My mom had, no problem getting pregnant for me and my siblings. So I kind of thought it'd be easy. But, I was watching YouTube videos. I became obsessed with pregnancy vlogs and all these videos. And as you're, watching YouTube, you get the recommended, and I would see these videos about IVF, and I would find myself watching them. So a small part of me thought, like, is this a sign? Could I have to do fertility one day? But I had no idea, the future that would be coming. Again, at that time, we were, only 25 years old. But, when it gets into a year of trying and nothing, you start to get suspicious.
Sure. So that's a great segue for my next question. What was the catalyst to see a fertility doctor?
So they say after about a year of trying, you should go to a doctor. So around 10 months into it, my husband and I both made our appointments. I went to my OB. He went and had a semen analysis done. I knew for me, I didn't have regular periods. So they were checking, was it PCOS? Is it my hormones? We were kind of in the middle of that. But then for my husband's semen analysis, we were incredibly shocked because I received a phone call one day. And the first thing my doctor asks me is, has your husband had a vasectomy? So I said, obviously not. At that point, we were, 26. But his semen analysis came back that he had 0 sperm in his semen. So we were completely shocked. Again, we were 26 years old. So we thought, okay, maybe it's a lab error. He goes back and it was confirmed. So he was diagnosed with obstructive azoospermia, meaning they did a test. His body creates sperm, but it cannot exit. Mm-hmm. We found out because he had 2 surgeries, inguinal hernia surgeries, which is down by your pelvis. Mm-hmm. So between the surgery and the scar tissue post, from his recovery, it seemed that was stopping the sperm from leaving. So we were told at 26 years old that we had 0 chance of conceiving naturally, that our only way was through IVF. And that was a tough pill to swallow. That was a lot. But that was part one of our problem.
So not only were you trying to figure out why it wasn't going on, and then to hear the news about your husband, that in itself is quite shocking and hard to digest.
Yeah.
Let's talk even further about your fertility journey. I know you had touched upon it, but let's dig even deeper.
Dig in.
Yes. So let's get to the weeds.
Right. So that was May 2018. So we started summer 2017. We get his diagnosis May of 2018. Threw us through a loop. So we had kind of a pity party of a summer. We traveled, we went to Mexico, we went on a cruise. We said, let's just forget about our life for a moment. And then that summer, later in the summer, we said, okay, we need to get started. So made an appointment at a local IVF clinic. You know, they do the basic tests. They say this is going to be nice and easy, you know, male factor infertility. My husband had surgery where they were able to retrieve the sperm, no problem. So we had a freezer full of it. Now it's on me to do IVF. So we start getting to it. We do our egg retrieval. I get 2 embryos. This is now October. 2 embryos. We do a fresh transfer, fail. You know, okay, it wasn't going to work on the first try. That was October. January 2019, I do a frozen. In my mind, this is 1000% going to work, because it didn't work the first time, definitely going to work the second time. Failed again. That definitely triggered a huge depression for me, especially with, you know, with IVF, you are on so many medications and hormones. The hormones leaving your body, that triggered a really tough depression time for me. So that was transfer number 2. We are now at 0 embryos. So we now have to start over. So we do another egg retrieval. This is number 2. That was that following March. We this time did PGS testing. So that's genetic testing to see, does the embryo have enough chromosomes? Maybe that was our problem. After the genetic testing, we were left with 1 genetically normal embryo. So that definitely is low for someone my age. I was only, 26, 27. To only have 1 genetically normal embryo was not great, but it's what we got. So that's this is going to be our 3rd transfer. We do it that May 2019, got our positive. And we thought, that's it. 3rd time's the charm. It was the genetics was the problem. I had my first blood work, came back fine. 2nd blood work, it did not. So I ended up having a chemical pregnancy. So that was transfer number 3. So a chemical pregnancy, a very early miscarriage, completely destroyed me. Absolutely destroyed me. You know, as many women have, gone through that, of thinking you're pregnant and having those dreams and then that being ripped from you. So that was incredibly hard. Had my chemical. Once again, we are at 0 embryos again. So we are back to square one again. Had my 3rd retrieval. Once again, had only 1 embryo left that was genetically normal. So again, kind of tough to having to keep doing egg retrievals in order to transfer. So I had my 3rd egg retrieval, only 1 embryo. Had my 4th transfer. We're now at October 2019. So it has been 1 full year of IVF end to end, and it failed again. So in the span of 1 year, I had 3 egg retrievals and 4 embryo transfers. And we are now back to square one again, because the 4th one did fail. Again, never thought we'd be in this position, because a year prior, we thought male factor, we have the sperm, IVF, done. We thought it'd be simple. And transfer after transfer after transfer, it still was not working. And I wasn't even getting, any pregnancy tests come back positive. It was just negative completely. It was a complete fail of a transfer. So at this point, we decided to switch doctors, because after 4, and the suggestion was, well, let's just try it again. We couldn't keep doing it again. So what we did is we switched doctors, which was very scary to switch doctors and to start over with somebody, but I'm thankful that we did. So we switched to a local clinic called Island Fertility, met with Dr. Bradley Trevax, and he wanted to change things up. So he changed some medications. We changed a bit of my protocol. And so we're now in January. January 2020 is when I met with him. I had my 4th egg retrieval now with him March 2020, literally days before closure with the pandemic. So this close to being canceled. And I ended up with 3 genetically normal embryos. So already we are, tripling our success from past retrievals. So that was, okay, we are in the right spot. So I had 3 genetically normal embryos, fantastic. We did a biopsy that's called receptiva, which is to test if potentially I had endometriosis. We were, whatever we could throw at me, we did that. I have 0 symptoms of endometriosis, but we tried it and it came back positive. So what that biopsy was saying was that my uterus might not be, as receptive to a transfer because I might have endo, which they say kind of makes it difficult for an embryo to stick. So, okay, we're learning more and more. So to combat that, I went on 3 months of a medication called Lupron Depot, which depletes your body of estrogen. It essentially put me into menopause. So it was definitely not fun, but we thought, okay, that's going to slow down any endo, make the uterus a bit more receptive.
Exactly.
So we're at transfer number 5, and that was summer 2020. And I thought for sure, this is going to work. This is number 5. And it failed again. So we are like, what is going on? But thankfully, we did have 2 embryos left. In the past year, it would be start over.
Right.
So Dr. Trevax was not going to do the same thing again. So again, we knew, okay, we feel a lot better. He recommended we see a local perinatal doctor. His name is Dr. Alex Kofinas. And what his job is, he focuses on people who have recurrent miscarriage and recurrent IVF failure. So I said, absolutely. So we went to him. He did a slew of tests on us. And it came back that I had, some sort of blood clotting issue that, that was making it difficult for my uterus to get enough, blood to support a pregnancy. And also that I had elevated natural killer cells, which a lot of IVF doctors are still on the fence about natural killer cells. It is definitely new medicine. It is new information and research. But Dr. Kofinas feels very strongly about this, and I will praise his name for the rest of my life. So based on his test, he recommended a new protocol for my transfer. He worked with Dr. Trevax. So I was on Lovenox. So that's a blood thinner injection. I was on a anti-rejection medication, because potentially my body was rejecting an embryo, thinking it was a foreign body. I was on weekly intralipid infusion. Someone came to my home, gave me an IV drip, and that's to combat these natural killer cells. So between his protocol and Dr. Trevax, we implanted 2 genetically normal embryos. First timer also doing 2, but again, it was, let's give it a shot. So this was transfer number 6. And I should also mention, Dr. Kofinas suggested I get a laparoscopy surgery to remove any endometriosis, because it seemed that Lupron Depot wasn't enough. So I had that surgery November 2020. So transfer number 5 was in July, started meeting with Kofinas, had that surgery in November. Once I was healed, I went through that whole protocol with the Lovenox and the intralipids. That was January 2021. And we had a positive, and that resulted in my daughter. So we had implanted 2 embryos, and 1 stuck, and I had a fantastic pregnancy. It really was, it went great. and I gave birth October of 2021. So that was 6th embryo transfer after 4 egg retrievals. So 3.5 years
Wow.
from beginning to end. And now she's here.
And she is so beautiful. Sarah, every time you mention her story, I just get so emotional because I've followed your story for so long. I've known you for the past 2 years. You are a total inspiration. You are an IVF warrior.
Thank you.
I got to ask you, for those, what, first of all, let's just take a step back. What were you doing for self-care? I mean, you've been through so much, but yet you are so resilient. You are so strong. Share with us some of the things that you were doing to help you, just get through the day.
Well, it takes a village to be a parent. It also takes a village to become a parent and to get through all of these years. Obviously family, it's a lot to do infertility with your family because they get their hopes up just as high as you. But it's allowing yourself to accept the love and support. So definitely your family. I did acupuncture. That was a great help for me in terms of, increasing, blood supply to the area and helping with egg retrieval and even just, for the mind, body, and spirit. Acupuncture was a huge help. Obviously yoga. Our sunset yogas at the beach and then doing yoga at home in the colder seasons. Learning how to meditate was huge because, with this, you could have an anxiety attack on the drive to work, and I would remember your videos of the alternate nostril breathing, and I would be doing that driving to school. That was a huge help. Also talk therapy. I found a local therapist who works with a lot of women going through infertility, and that was great. I would highly recommend that, finding someone who knows what they're talking about the TTC community. And I started working with her when I hit that big depression after transfer number 2. So we've been together for, going on 3 years. That was necessary to get me here because I might have quit, to be honest, after that second transfer failed. And then we had the miscarriage at number 3. It was up in the air of what I was going to do. But, we knew we couldn't quit, but I needed that support system. Self-care is so important if you're going through this.
Absolutely. And Sarah, like I said, my hat goes off to you for just motivating yourself and getting yourself through some of the toughest times and finding the resources to help put you in that right mental spot to, be strong enough to endure some of the toughest times. Tell us, what was it like when you were struggling? What were your relationships like with your spouse and in your family?
Mm-hmm.
Because for some people, it's a grueling time and it's really hard.
Yeah.
Talk us through, what was it like when you were in the trenches?
So my husband and I have the advantage that we have been together for a very long time. We, just celebrated 13 years together. So when we started this, we had already been together, going on 10 years. So we know each other through it all. That was a pro. It is not easy though. It is not easy. And you have to learn to kind of be observant of how your partner is doing, because I knew when my husband was going through it, when he was having kind of a depressive episode about this, and he knew when I was. And we would, you have to help each other when they are going through it. And because we didn't have an answer. We did not know what the future would hold. We are looking back now, it's of course it was worth it, of course, but when you were in it, we had no idea when the journey would end or when there would be a light at the end of the tunnel. So it was tough. I will say now, on the other end of it, we are better parents for it. I know that for a fact. The first month of my daughter's life, I was crying every day out of just pure joy
Oh,
that she is here. She is real. She was 1000% worth every injection and appointment and
right,
everything.
right.
She was worth it all. But our marriage definitely grew stronger.
That's so
Um,
wonderful.
but it was tough, and it's learning to see when you're going through it and how I can help you, and when I'm going through it, what I need, and having that open line of communication.
I can't imagine, as you know, my story, I've been through one cycle, but to go through six and as young as you are, and to
Mhm.
think, that it will be easier when you're younger, and that's not the case. I mean, the two of you are you are IVF warriors, you're model parents. I mean, I
Thank you.
congratulate you. I would love for you to share with us some of the resources that you
Mhm.
turn to so that others listening to this can potentially, find out about resources that you use to help
Mhm.
you through some of the toughest times.
I definitely encourage looking at Facebook for local groups.
Yeah.
There's a ton of Facebook groups, support for IVF and TTC community, but it's nice to have a local one. For us, it was, a Long Island IVF group. So I could see, what did people think about Dr. So and so. And, when I was looking into having my surgery, I researched, my surgeon. I had Dr. Pilateri. I never met him before, but I would search his name on the Facebook group and I would see, I had my surgery with him too. It went great. It went great. Working with Dr. Kofinas, I didn't know much about him, but on this Facebook group, people would say, he's amazing. He does things that people don't do. So I would suggest looking to Facebook, but I also caution to guard your heart when looking at Facebook groups, because
Mhm.
yes, there is a lot of advice. Yes, there is excitement and news, but there's also a lot of devastation and there's a lot of sad news that sometimes you don't want to have ping on your phone and
Yeah.
see a sad news for somebody. So I do caution that, I would kind of follow it in that I would go in there and search, but I did have to mute, the notifications and stuff like that. So be mindful of that. I would suggest to people, because it could be hard, to see the happy announcements sometimes could be hard on you. And also seeing where things go wrong for people can be hard. Um, that Facebook group is where I found my therapist. I would, get on your local email list for your IVF clinic. That's how I found you. Your workshop was through the IVF clinic that I was going through. And it was, I put myself out there and I went. I was scared to go to a, IVF clinic workshop, but I went. And obviously it's, one of the greatest decisions I did. Um, but that's what I would say is online. Yes, there are books you can read. I read a couple, um, about TTC and all that, but I would say look for Facebook, but just guard yourself. If it's starting to be less helpful than more helpful,
Yeah,
step away.
exactly. And that is tremendous advice, especially with the boom of the TTC community now on social media.
Yeah.
That's great, Sarah, because you really have to take it, and protect yourself with a grain of salt, but yet embrace it with what is valuable and what does work for you. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
Looking back, what would you have done differently?
Only thing I would think of is I was petrified to switch clinics.
Yes.
Picking my original doctor, in my mind, I was like marrying the man. I
Yes.
was choosing someone to trust my life with. My future children, that's your life. I was so scared to pick a doctor. And when I finally did, in my mind, we are tied for life. And I was very optimistic. But after a year of kind of doing the same thing over and over again, my husband and I decided it was time to change. And thank goodness we did.
Yeah.
because, you know, we talked about my first egg retrieval at Island Fertility with Dr. Trevax. We tripled our successes. And, you know, so if I hadn't have switched, who knows what would have happened. So I regret maybe not switching sooner, and having that anxiety to switch. And also, you know, I wish I had met Dr. Kofinas earlier. You know, the first time we met, he said, you know, I wish I saw you after your first or second failure. But, you know, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah.
Our journey was meant to be that it was. But I would highly suggest, if you feel something is wrong,
Yeah.
you know, we were 26, 27 years old and having recurrent failures, kind of unexplained,
Yeah.
to go find someone who will figure it out. And that's what we did. And by jumping ship and having two new doctors who, you know, work together on their own specialties, you know, it was the first transfer that we did with the two of them that it was positive. But, you know, you try not to have regret, but, you know, you do think about that. What if we moved on sooner?
Absolutely. No, that's valuable advice. You know, time is of the essence. And like you had mentioned, if you feel like something is not right,
Yeah.
it's good to explore other possibilities.
Yeah.
Can you give any tips or suggestions for those who are struggling? There's so many resources out there, and this interview will hopefully help others that are going through the same things that you and I have gone through. What would you suggest?
I would say trust your gut. Like we talked about, if you feel that something is wrong, you are not tied to that doctor. You can do whatever you want. If you want to move your embryos to another clinic, that is your right.
Yeah.
You know, we had to move my husband's sperm from one clinic to another. And was I scared to do it? Absolutely. But it was done. It was done. And now it's where it needs to be. Trust your gut about that. Um, Self-care, we talked about. I would not be here if I didn't take the time to do what I needed to do to keep myself whole, because infertility is going to try to break you into pieces every day, every week, every cycle. But you have to do what you can. And if that means having weekly nail appointments, then that's what it is.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
it's whatever it takes for you to keep your body and your mind and your soul whole. Um, you have to put yourself first. You have to be selfish, because with IVF, you are giving your body up for
Exactly.
countless blood works, sonograms, appointments, early morning. You don't have control of that, but do what you can control. And whether that's doing yoga on YouTube, or going to, you know, the gym and that makes you feel better, or acupuncture, or, you know, therapy. There's so many, you know, resources, but you have to take that first step to do it. You have to put yourself first, and guard that.
Love it, Sarah. And I'm so happy that you did that. You pursued those things that meant so much to you, that
Mhm.
put you over the top, and you didn't shut down. So that is just so motivating to hear. If there was one thing you wanted our audience to know about trying to conceive, what
Mhm.
would it be?
You know, I hated hearing it when I was trying, of it'll be worth it, or of course the just relax, but I'm not even going to say that. The relax comment needs to end, but the idea of it will be worth it, I 1000% feel that now. I would go through what I did 10 times over if I knew it would bring me my daughter. It was 1000% worth it. It has made me a better mom. It's made, you know, my husband a better father. The joy she brings our parents, as they're in this role now of being grandparents, every day she proves that it was worth it, and that I would do it again, and I will do it again, to give her a sibling one day. We are back to square one. We have no more embryos at all. But I will do a 5th egg retrieval,
Good for you.
because I know that it will be worth it. And hopefully it doesn't take as long. Let's hope.
Right.
But even if it does, I know that it will be worth it. So all I could say is just do not give up. If you need to take a break, take a break. Go on that pity party summer vacation like we did, and just forget your troubles and do that if you can. But come back and try again.
And I'll leave it at that. So beautifully put, Sarah. You gave us so many golden nuggets in this conversation. You and your husband are IVF warriors. You're going to inspire so many with your stories, not just now, but for years to come. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak with me today, and for just this valuable insight, and to help other women, and just to normalize these types of conversation.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Sarah.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, and good luck to everybody.